The 2025 NBA Draft is in the books. Today we're jumping back in with SEC eyes. Following a historic year in the hardwood, we're going back into the draft here where several players from the SEC were taken with a total of 13 chosen. The SEC also had 5 players taken in the first round. While history has been made by the numbers, it's also the changing of an era in the SEC when you look at it from a draft perspective, including John Calipari's incredible run in the draft, one of the most dominant players in SEC history heading toward the league, and what is arguably one of the most impressive position groups the SEC has seen in its recent history is making its way into the NBA. Let's get started with the draft itself, but before we do that, I want to let you guys know we're so sorry what happened. I know we promised a live stream. You may notice I'm on a different set here today than what we normally operate with. Well, part of the technical difficulties we had for doing the live stream included the studio TV. We also had some issue with our streaming software. It was a mess. So this is as promised on our Twitter account that we would do a draft recap episode of the Hoop Southbound show to make up for it for you guys. And we're going to jump in, look at this thing with SEC eyes. So let's get started with that draft. And let's go first to the top 5. This was a year the draft was dominated by college basketball overall, a trend that is expected to continue and to stand firm for many years, according to several experts. But it's a big change from what we've seen recently with all the international talent that's made the headlines in the NBA draft the last few years. You think about Wemby, you think about last year with a couple of guys from Europe and Australia coming into the draft. But despite that, the SEC had no players taken in the first 5 picks this year. But to no one's surprise, Cooper Flagg was the #1 overall pick. I mean, who didn't see that coming? Dylan Harper was one of the 2 Rutgers players taken. Baylor's BJ Edgecombe went off the board 3rd. Konkanippel of Duke went 4th. And somewhat controversially, the 2nd Rutgers player, Ace Bailey, went to Utah. Now, some of that controversy and speculation has been put to rest today as he finally has arrived with the Jazz. But yeah, the SEC, no one showing up in the top 5 there. And people definitely have been questioning, how in the world did Rutgers have the season they had with 2 top 5 picks in this year's draft? A crazy, crazy story, and one I've been asking myself pretty much all season since I saw Rutgers recruiting class last season. But the SEC did have a pretty strong showing and was represented well for the rest of the lottery. Trey Johnson and Jeremiah Fears were taken back-to-back immediately outside the top 5, heading to Washington and New Orleans, respectively. South Carolina's Colin Murray-Bowles, he was also taken in the top 10, and he's going to be playing for the Toronto Raptors. As for the rest of the SEC, the draft went pretty darn well. Walter Clayton Jr. was picked by Washington, but has been traded to the Utah Jazz and the NBA trade system and all of their craziness with players wearing the wrong hats on draft night. Ace Newell will be headed to Atlanta after being picked up by New Orleans. Good showing there for Georgia and into the 2nd round. Auburn's Johni Broome was taken by the 76ers. Adou Thiero went right after him and will be headed to the Lakers after a trade with the Nets. Chaz Lanier made it 3 SEC picks in a row. Florida's Elijah Martin went 39th. Kobe Brea goes to Phoenix after a trade with Golden State. Amari Williams made it back-to-back Wildcats and will head to Boston. Will Richard was the 3rd Gator taken in this draft, and Jemai Meshack was the final pick of this year's NBA draft. And you can see the breakdown by the numbers here. Florida having 3 players taken in the draft, Kentucky with 2, Tennessee with 2, and then Auburn, Arkansas, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina all represented in this year's NBA draft. And while this is the beginning of a new chapter for many players, it's a closing of several chapters across the SEC. One of those stories is one of the most dominant players in the SEC over the last 3 seasons. Auburn's Johni Broome is on his way, of course, to Philadelphia. Auburn basketball is losing one of the players that has been the face of the team for years now. Broome closes out what has been some highly impressive years under Bruce Pearl, and Broome leaves a legacy as one of the best players in Auburn history. Has to go up there with Charles Barkley, you would suspect. Broome leads Auburn's with career stats that averaged over 16 points a game, just under 10 rebounds a night, and roughly 2 blocks a night. He shot 31% from deep and was over 50% from the floor at his time at Auburn, highlighting his level of versatility. But Broome is also making history, leaving his name in Auburn's and college basketball's history books and records broken. During his 2025 campaign, Broome was the Sporting News Player of the Year, a consensus first team All American, SEC Player of the Year, and came home with a Final Four and SEC regular season title. This year, he led the SEC in total rebounds and rebounds per game. Broome became the fourth NCAA D1 player to record more than 2,500 points and 1,500 rebounds in his career. He also holds the single season Auburn record for rebounds at 389 and double doubles at 21 at Auburn. Impressive career for Johni Broome. But the team that bested Auburn this year at times were, of course, the Florida Gators, especially during their impressive run during the month of March this year. But while Florida's front court consistently and rightfully should get the praise of their talent, the backcourt deserves the respect as an elite group in the SEC this year, and the draft only highlighted that more. One that should be considered as one of the best position groups in SEC history. You heard me correct. On draft night, Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, and Will Richard all heard their names called, well, across two different nights. The three stars of the backcourt, three draft picks, all national champions. Consider this group's accomplishments this year. The three were the leaders in points for the Gators this season. They were all transfers to this Florida team. The three of them led the Gators to the number one net rating in the SEC, the number two defensive rating, and the number three offensive rating. On any given night, the three combined for 46 points, over 8 assists, more than 5 steals, and 13 rebounds on average. Think of a group that has come together like that, completely built out of the portal in this modern era. A lot of teams use a combination of that, but what Florida has put together was an excellent backcourt from players all coming across different areas of college basketball. Clayton from Iona, Richard from Belmont, and Martin from FAU. All three of these guys coming somewhere in different conferences across the mid-major level. This group of experienced players ended up dominating the SEC this year. They won an SEC tournament, and in what was a historically tough year to do so, they went undefeated in the month of March and ended up winning a national title at the end of the year. If you look at the KenPom numbers and dive into that, this Florida team cleared the net rating of either of Billy Donovan's national championship teams by more than 6 points. These three put up efficiency numbers on those teams that are greater than Al Horford and Joakim Noah on either of those national championship teams. Clayton, Martin, and Richard should go down as one of the most dominant groups of players in SEC history after a sensational season. And on draft night, that legacy is just further cemented. And just like Bob Dylan said, the times, they are a changin'. Also during the draft this year, both the streak continued and ended, while two new chapters have begun right here in the SEC. John Calipari has been no stranger to the NBA draft. 61 players coached by Calipari have heard their name called on draft nights. And for the last 17 years in a row, we've heard one of Calipari's players' names being called by the commissioner in the first round. But on Wednesday night, that streak came to an end. For the first time since Derrick Rose, John Calipari didn't have a first-round draft pick. But Calipari's streak of 18 years of draft picks does continue, as Adou Thiero was taken in the early second round. Thiero, a Kentucky transfer, is also the first Razorback taken in the draft under Calipari. Calipari has had draft picks now from UMass, Memphis, Kentucky, and Arkansas. It's been an impressive streak and one that we may never see a repeat of again. The names that are tenured as long as Calipari in college basketball are nearing retirement or have so retired. Gone are the legends of the game like Coach K, Roy Williams, and others. Others like Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino, Bill Self are nearing the end of their careers and have had gaps in their draft streaks. Compounded with the current direction of college basketball and players having more incentive to return to college with their draft stock isn't, exactly perfect heading into the draft. Right now, another streak of this kind seems just unlikely. The one and done era may officially have come to an end on Wednesday night. We'll continue to see freshman players head of the draft, no doubt. There's no doubt about that. Look at the numbers from this year's draft. There were plenty of players, freshmen, entering in on their first year here. But the way we think about one and done players looks to be coming to an end. It's not going to be the expectation so much anymore. For Calipari, the streak should be recognized as what it is. A coach who got to the cutting edge for a rule change back in the 2000s that gave him a path to success in college basketball. Calipari's resume from 2008 to 2019 should speak to that. Final Fours, a national championship, and players that have shaped the NBA for the last 2 decades. It's an accomplishment that should be recognized and has been recognized by the Basketball Hall of Fame, no matter on your feelings on Calipari in the given moment today. But for Calipari, Thiero's pick was his first as the head coach at Arkansas. The era that had been defined may be over, but a new chapter is being written right now for him in Fayetteville. And there's also a new chapter being written in Lexington. While the Calipari streak comes to an end, Kentucky also began a new chapter in the NBA draft. Mark Pope had 2 players taken in this year's draft, Kobe Brea and Amari Williams. Williams and Brea became the first 2 draft picks for Mark Pope in his coaching career. They also continued Kentucky's 18-year run of NBA draft picks and 16 years of multiple draft picks. However, like Calipari, this is the first year that streak came to an end without having a first-round player picked this season. The times they are changing, but there's an exciting new chapter being written at 2 of the most established programs across the SEC. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around and enjoying this little breakdown of the NBA draft from SEC Eyes today. I greatly appreciate you guys being here, but please like and subscribe and stick around here with us for the rest of the summer. We got more basketball to talk about. In fact, we're already talking about it. You should check out our content for Slam Dunk Summer. Slam Dunk Summer Camp has been a lot of fun to make, and we're still working on it right now. We've already started both the Portal and Freshman 15 series. And in that Freshman 15 series, we got a trio of Kentucky players that have yet to have their video show up on our YouTube channel. So Kentucky fans, be on the lookout for that. And we got several players across the SEC from different teams coming out. You may already see here on the channel that Malik Thomas is going to be out soon, along with CJ Ingram from Florida. So those players, be on the lookout for those videos. And also, we're going to be making an audible here. Instead of doing Peach Jam, the numbers weren't great on our first Peach Jam video. But we're going to make an audible here. And since we have so many players coming from overseas, we're going to do an international introduction, so to speak, on the international players coming to the SEC this coming season. So be on the lookout for that video as well. So hope you guys please like and subscribe and join us here all summer as we continue this content. And before you know it, season previews will be here. But until then, see you next time, and we'll catch you real soon.
Yeah. See, now people like to talk, I don't really like to hear them. See these dudes naked, that's why I don't get near them. This rap is in my blood, I don't even need a serum. Hometown kids, so you hear the city cheering. Lately I've been going off, think I'm killing now, man, just wait till this my job. I'm trying to PC sauce, I mean every word I'm saying. They don't even care, they want me rhyming off the top. Yeah, still been going in, been doing this since 2K was rhyming.